Hi there, my name is Camilla and you're watching Craft Vinci. Hi there, thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Infusible inks, which is a relatively new product for Cricut. We also might know this process as dye sublimation, which is quite expensive to start because you need a special printer or at least special inks and special paper, dye sublimation paper. You print on it just like on a regular paper and printer, and your image has to be mirrored because we're going to be placing it face down, ink down onto our product, and then removing it, keeping the ink on your per se shirt, and that's what's gonna bind to your material, your blank. But Infusible ink, that's what we're going to be talking today. So first thing you might notice on here is, well, listen Camilla, this is not the same color. This is kind of pinkish, this is red. Once we press it onto our material, I promise you, it's going to give us a beautiful red color between the heat and the time that we have set it on. So don't worry about that. These colors all look very bleak when you look at them. Just gonna show you another set of Infusible ink sheets. So if you take a look at this sheet versus the little sample on the box, you can see that it's just not the same tones, but they will be. The Infusible ink sheets come in 12 by 12. So they fit on your standard mat, and you place them on there with the plastic down. So ink up, plastic down, because we're going to reverse it and then again place our image down on our material. Once you cut your design, you are going to crack it a little bit to make sure that it releases from the transfer sheet. Now, I can tell you that if you do it too much, your designs can come off. But the transfer sheet is tacky, therefore they won't, you can stick them back on. As you can tell, I'm having a bit of a trouble here. All right. Get it started. It is much easier to weed than your typical HTV because of the fact that the Infusible ink sheet is much thicker than our HTV would be, so it comes off relatively easy. Once you start this process, I'm betting that you will love the Infusible ink. So, wow, lots of fingerprints. But this, there we go, mirrored image of where I'm going to press. I want to do that. A couple of things you need to keep in mind when considering using Infusible inks. You have to use a white or preferably light color item. The ink is transparent, so if you put it on a dark garment, the ink will transfer as long as it's polyester or high content of polyester, but you won't be able to see it at all. It does not have any opaque color in it. So white or pastel colors are the best for your use. Second thing, or maybe even the first thing, is it has to be a polyester material in order to bind. The Sublimation ink, and even the Infusible ink, binds to polyester fibers, or polyester itself the ink becomes a gas, and when it becomes a gas, it binds to polyester in the design that you have chosen. So whenever you have an item such as a t-shirt that's a blend or even 100% cotton, you are taking a chance, a risk that your item will not sublimate properly. either the colors will be off or the longevity of your blank or designed item at that point will not last a long time because it'll wash out. You have to remember to use a roller to get the lint off. This step I used to skip. However, I can tell you that it's quite important not to. All right. Let's get a clean sheet here. So rolling out the fuzz, any sparkles, hairs is quite important to our process. Now we're going to be making these cute socks. And since Valentine's Day is right around the corner, I decided to make it a Valentine's theme. I cut these little boards out for my socks because of the fact that Infusible ink can penetrate through to the bottom layer of your product. So it's important to either have cardboard or some kind of butcher paper in between the layers to avoid bleeding through. So I have gotten these 3.5-inch cardboard, just leftover cardboard box. I just got these out with my paper cutter, not a big deal. And another thing that we have to remember when we are using the Infusible ink is that we have to use the pad, which is great. You know, I'm gonna roll this again because my socks were folded up before. I'm not sure if it's gonna make a difference. Let's be prepared, proactive. Okay, we have this. But before you start this process, it's really important to get into a habit of putting your butcher paper underneath your project or blank. Just something to get used to, just in case. And also very important if you are using the sublimation. Let's see which way I want this to go. If I'm wearing my socks like this, oops. I want it to go just like this. So the heat guide, the Cricut heat guide, has let me know when searching for the product, the material, and the heat transfer material that we have to preheat our press at 385 degrees for 40 seconds. And we're going to preheat our blanks before even placing our image on there to get rid of any moisture or wrinkles. You know, if you're pressing a shirt, it might be wrinkly and then your image will transfer with the wrinkles, distorting the image completely. So as this is heating up, I'm also going to show you the sublimation. It is yet again mirrored image because once we place it down, it's going to rewrite. So we're gonna make one of these socks. I just wanted to show you a difference, a bit of difference. Why do we cover the pad? So we cover the pad just in case our Infusible ink or dye sublimation ink bleeds through to the bottom. And since our pad is made out of polyester, it will soak that in and may even transfer onto other items that you might be pressing later on. So it's really, really important just to get into a habit of putting butcher paper down, putting something in between your layers, and preheating it. You don't need to preheat it for a long time, just a few seconds for each sock, because we're going to be making one with sublimation and the other with Infusible ink. So there you go. This transfer sheet is tacky, so technically we don't have to use any tape, heat resistant tape. So First of all, do not use any tape that is like Scotch tape or masking tape or anything like that, because that will bleed in and destroy your item. But heat resistant tape, you can get the Cricut brand, you can get the regular brand just off Amazon. And we're just gonna place our image face down. And I like to tape it because I have to tape the dye sublimation one too. And if I don't do it for one, I will forget the process for the other. Might as well just do it. This is a hot peel. So whenever you are done with pressing it, you just pull it right off. Try not to move the reason why we are taping these images is because if for any reason our image shifts on our product, it will create ghosting and distort the item. So we don't want that to happen. That's number one. Number two is we want to use our lovely butcher paper on top too. We don't really need to use it on top of the Infusible ink because it has the transfer sheet, which will protect whatever you're pressing, whether it's heat press or whatever you're using. But on our sublimation side, we don't have the protection. It is paper. It is very likely that it's going to bleed through and leave marks on your heat press. So we don't want to damage anything, and since this is a very permanent solution, it will not peel, it will not crack. I'll show you exactly what it looks like just a second. I'm going to press the first sock first, which is our Infusible ink. Wait. And we're going to start it with the Cricut timer, and it will beep at us whenever it's ready. And it's light pressure, so you don't have to press really hard, but keep it steady and don't move it at all. And as it counts down, we're just going to halfway time here. So like I said, the Infusible ink will not peel, crack, or come off at all. You can wash it in a washer, you can dry it. I would be really careful when ironing your shirts if you're making shirts. Or anything with high heat, because again the Infusible ink will become gas again and transfer possibly. So now that we have this done, you might want to have some tweezers or something ready, but we're just going to peel it straight up. Okay, and then we're going to press on the other side. We will press our sublimation, and we're going to press it again for the 40 seconds. Now I can show you that since I was not keeping my board, not my board, but my heat press really straight, my sublimation ink did not come out right. It is very dark on the one side and it's much lighter on the other where I did not press evenly. So you have to make sure that the pressure is even throughout your press, or you're going to come out with a boo-boo like mine. I'm going to remove, see, you try to make sure that this does not happen. And I'll show you something in just a second, but we're going to remove this in much the same motion as we did the Infusible ink, and straight up. So here is my dye sublimation. Now what has happened here also is the underneath of the sock has the sprinkle, and I did not pay attention to that. But the reason why I cover everything is, not sure if you can tell from this paper, but it bled through. Exactly another reason why you do not want to reuse your butcher paper. Do not use Teflon sheets or anything like that. Butcher paper is recommended. for use with the Infusible ink. And you just want to toss these sheets whenever you are done with them, so that way nothing ever transfers to your any other projects. But once this is done, you can just remove your cardboard if that's what you did, or a sheet of paper is fine too if you don't have cardboard, and your little project is complete. And what I want to show you is that with the vinyl, all of your image is sitting on top. So when you pull it apart, you are actually pulling just the material underneath, and you can distort your image. But with the dye sublimation or infusible ink, you can pull the image apart, stretch it, because your ink has been bound to your fibers in these socks, so it goes right back to where it was before. Not a big deal. Super cute. So make sure that whenever you're pressing straight and not paying attention to the camera as much. So that's it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments or email us. Our blog is going to have the step-by-step instructions, the do's and don'ts. Please don't forget to mirror your image, because you will destroy your blank. It'll come out backwards. Not really that important if it's just an image, but if it has any wording in it, it will be super important. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.